Alright guys, welcome back to class. In this class we are going to look at how to receive inventory item without bill. Now in the previous section we have seen how to enter inventory item with bill, right? So and that will give us the amount we are actually owing our vendor, right? Because the vendor sent across the invoice we use, which is now the invoice number 1 that the vendor gave us, right? So and that invoice bear this value as what we are owing the vendor. Now if we go back to our chart of account, right, if you click on your chart of account right here, you can see that in your account payables you are actually seeing that you are owing this value, and your inventory value is now showing this. Now even though we have a purchase order we raise, right, even though we have purchase order that we raise here now for Boa Foods, which bear this amount, but because we have not received that item yet, you can see that it has no bearing in our balances. It has no bearing in our accounts payables, right? Our account payables is only carrying the amount we have received. So that is what we see here. The account payables is now this. This is what we have in our account payables. This is what we are owing our vendor. Now, what happens if we receive an item? What happens if we receive an item of inventory without a bill? Now, if we receive an item of inventory without a bill, definitely it's going to increase our inventory list. It's going to increase our inventory item list, but it's not going to tell us the amount we are owing our vendor. So let's go ahead and receive item without a bill. So we can do that from here, right? We can do that from here, right? Receive item without a bill. We have still going to have the inventory option list, and this receive form. Now I told us that anytime you open a window like this in QuickBooks, is called a form, right? So instead of bill this time around, we are seeing item received, right? Instead of bill this time around, we are seeing item received. That is what we are seeing, right? So to confirm that, let's go back and say receive item with bill. Now here we are seeing bill, but when we use receive inventory without a bill, we are seeing receipt item received. So it just means that we are receiving an item, we don't know what it costs, or what is the cost of the item. Now again, let me go ahead and use the inventory, the cost vendor center, to receive this item, right? So like I said, this is the vendor we want to receive item against, right? This is the vendor we want to receive item from, so we come back to our new transaction, we just say receive item, right? This time around it's not received without the bill, receive item. You can see that it's the same thing, and this time around we don't actually need to select the vendor because we have already done that from here and it has been selected. Now this is the item we are receiving. I thought we raised a purchase order before. Okay, we raised a purchase order before, so why? Okay, just need to confirm that. Let's go back again. Let's go back again. No. So just need to confirm that. So click on the vendor, come to new transaction, receive item. Now when you receive item, because this is selected, it's not yet sure whether that's the vendor we want to work with. So just tap your press your tab key and you see this option, right? You can see open purchase order exists for this vendor. Do you want to receive against one or more of this vendor? You say want to receive against the purchase order. Yes. Right, you can see this is the purchase order we have, purchase order number 2, right? Then when you check it and select it, you click OK. Now this is the purchase order, and let's just assume that everything that was supplied, everything that was raised as purchase order was exactly what was supplied at the same price, right? At the same price. So let's go ahead and click save and close. The date of receipt, and the vendor gave us invoice. Okay, this particular vendor have his own unique way of invoicing. His invoice carries his initial, so say Boa invoice. Let's say this is how the invoice looks, right? Because every vendor has the unique way of invoicing. Boa invoice 00, let's say this is 12, right? So this is Boa. Whenever you see this invoice number, you know that is Boa invoice. So the date of receipt is always this as well, right? Now look here, the bill here is inactive. This is inactive and this is inactive because we are not receiving against an invoice. We are not receiving with bill, we are receiving just the item. We don't know the cost, so we are assuming everything here is constant. So let's go ahead and save and close. Now we have received this item without a bill. At the same time, you can see that even though we received this item without a bill, the item we received is the same value, but it's still showing us negative because we at our own end, we don't know what it costs, right? So when you check your chart of account, it is your chart of account is going to your accounts payable is going to reflect the value in your purchase order, right? Because it's assuming that that is the value. It's assuming that that is the value because the item has been received, right? The item has been received, even though we don't know how much it costs, but the value in the purchase order, that is what the accounts payable is going to take care of, and your inventory also is going to take care of that value, right? Now you can see that here is showing negative. Now let's look at primary food. Now primary food, you can see primary food, we have a purchase order of this amount, but this is actually what we are going to pay. So you can see the changes. This is actually what we are going to pay. This is what our purchase order says, but this is what we receive. So this is what we are going to pay, right? You can see that this is what we are going to pay. You can see the difference. This is item, right? From here is the item received, no bill, we don't know how much it's going to cost. This is now primary food. This is bill, we know how much it's going to cost, and this is invoice. All right, so even here that we put this invoice number, we actually made mistake because we don't know the invoice. We don't know the amount. Invoice means that we already know the amount, but in this case we don't know the invoice and we don't know the amount. So why are we putting invoice number? Anyway, let's leave it like that way. So when you come to your bill tracker is not going to say much. You're still going to have this as item received, but it is not payable because you don't know what it was. All right, so let's say on a later day the vendor later sent you an invoice. So what are you going to do? So you have to come back to your enter bills against an invoice, against an inventory here, right? You can just click here, or from your vendor center here, select Boa Food, right? You go to new transactions, you say enter bills for receive item, right? When you click enter bill for receive items, now you see that this is the only invoice, this is the only item we receive without a bill, right? So we can just select it, and because we are having this option because we have already selected Boa Food here, select it. Now use item receive date for bill date, so you can just go ahead and click check this option and click OK. And when you click OK, you now have the option to enter a bill. So if the prices changes, you have to make the changes here and enter it, but let's assume it is the same. So let's go ahead and say save and close. Now when you do that, you can say you have changed the transaction. Do you want to record your changes? Say yes. Go ahead and say yes. Now when you say yes, we have bills. Now Boa Food, we have received the item and the bill is the same, and the amount is the same. So if you come to our bill tracker, you can see that it's the same thing. Now we have bill, purchase order. Why are we still having this purchase order? How many purchase order did we create here? We have already converted this to bill. Sorry, my battery is already down, so maybe we'll come back to that later, but let me rush this place. Why are we still having this? I thought we already have a bill here. This is a bill, this is a bill. Okay, the thing is that because the bill changes, right, the purchase order changes, so we have already received this, so there's no need. What other item is that? Oh, right. Okay, now I see what is going on. Now if you look at it, this is our purchase order, right? This is the item we raised. Now but when we are receiving the item, we receive item above the purchase order we have raised, right? We receive item above the purchase order we have raised. So that is what is happening here. Now let's go back to our purchase order and let me show you something quickly. Right, so this is for Boa Food. Now this is it. Now our purchase order says 50 here, right? But when we receive this item, right, we receive more than 50, right? We receive more than 50 items. We receive more than 50 items. You can see here we receive 55, here we also receive 55, and here we receive 45, right? So what our purchase order, our bill tracker is saying is that there is still a bill we have not received. There is still a purchase order we have not created for that. So that is what it's trying to do here. The 5 extra, it's not trying to say create a purchase order for that 5 extra. That is what it's trying to say, and that's why we are seeing that option open. So let's go ahead and say, okay, create a purchase order so that it will just clear that, right? So we do that, you can see it has cleared it and everything has come back. So that means it has created a purchase order bill for the 5 quantity that we receive, right? So I can also as well, receiving this item, I can as well use the same invoice number. I can use the same invoice number, right? So this is it, right? So I will just do 001, I guess, right? So I'll just save it and save and close. Yes, right? So you can see that it has cleared the purchase order that was still outstanding, and here we have all the bills that we are owing. So we can see from a glance that this is the total bill we are owing, 5.557. That's what we are owing as individuals, as a business, and we need to pay our vendors. So when we come back in the next section, we're going to look at how to pay these bills, right? We are going to look at how to pay our vendors through QuickBooks and how QuickBooks can help us track that payment and know the balances we are still owing our vendors. So thank you very much, and see you in the next section.